Well, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. First of all, thanks to everybody who took some time to put a comment under any of my videos in the last week. I've had quite a few comments, so thank you for that. This week we're going to be working on a Dynabook L50-G motherboard. It's got the i5 10th generation processor and it's labeled here as being faulty. Now, as we know, with the Dynabooks, Toshibas, we cannot get any schematics, so we'll be flying blind this week. But let me scan it into the screen. We're going to inject some voltage and see if we can get this thing back working again.
Now I have scanned the motherboard to the screen so we can work on it together. Seems to be a lot of questions about how I scan these to the screen. I don't think that they're amazing. I'm a bit disappointed with some of them when we zoom in that we do lose definition pretty quickly, but for those who think that they look well, all I use is a flatbed scanner. It's an Epson Perfection V600 and I touched them up in Photoshop. Okay. Now this is the motherboard here. I did a quick inspection and when I look down here we find that there is signs of damage at this ISL95880. So you can see something has exploded here. So the first thing I decided to do was to get my toothbrush and a small bit of alcohol and clean off this area and see if we can find any damaged components. And when I finished cleaning that area, I dried it off with my heat gun. So as you can see, it doesn't look like there are any broken tracks or any signs of serious damage, but that of course doesn't mean that this chip isn't blown or some other components around it could be blown. This is how my motherboard looked before cleaning, and this is how it looks now after cleaning. So as you can see, after cleaning, we don't have any damage to any of the tracks here connecting to any of the components. None of the components look like they're damaged. There's a small bit of damage on this capacitor, but I've checked this capacitor and it's testing okay. I don't know if there's a component missing from here. And of course we don't know if this IC itself is blown. So what is the function of the ISL95880? Well, as you can see here, it provides a complete power solution for Intel microprocessors supporting core, graphics and system agent rails. So this produces 3 separate power rails, one for core, one for graphics and one for system agent. And they actually have a sample circuit down below here. So we have our 3-phase power rail, which is for our CPU. We have a single phase second power rail for GT or integrated graphics, and we have a third power rail which is for SA, that's the system agent. Now I have no way of testing that ISL95880, but when I cleaned it off it didn't look like there was any damage to the components around it. Obviously the fact that there was damage there indicates that possibly there's an issue with that IC or with the load on it, which is the processor, and that's not good obviously. But the only thing I can do here is connect power to the board and see which areas of the circuit work. So let me show you how I connected up power to this board. I have located my DC in connector right here, and I have also identified that this is where our positive DC voltage comes in through this fuse and on down to the rest of the board, and these 2 pins right here are our ground pins. So let me introduce my DC power supply and show you how I bring voltage to this motherboard. So we introduce our DC power supply, we connect our black wire to ground and our red wire to where our DC input comes in. I set my voltage to 19 volts, and when I did that it started drawing 0.001 of an amp. That's 1 milliamp. Now I've rotated the board here because it's easier to follow the voltage in this orientation, but as you can see, here is where we are injecting, and if you take a look, it comes onto that fuse, then past the fuse and follows this track down here, and if we follow that it comes up to this MOSFET right here. So let's zoom in and we can take some measurements here. I've zoomed in because these components are actually quite small, but the first check we want to carry out is a voltage measurement at the drain pins of this first MOSFET, and we confirm that we have 19.0 volts at this point. So our voltage is being injected, it's making it through the fuse and down to this first MOSFET. Let's mark in the pins of this first MOSFET. It's an EMB09P03, which is a P-channel MOSFET. So let's check the gate voltage. When we measure at the gate, we find that there is 8.8 volts. So this is a low voltage, so it should switch on this MOSFET, and we can confirm that the MOSFET is switched on by measuring the voltage at the source pins. So when I measure the voltage at the source pins, I find that we have 19.0 volts. Our 19 volts then makes its way onto a second MOSFET. If we look at the pinouts for this, we see that it is also an EMB09P03 P-channel MOSFET. When we check the gate voltage on the gate pin right here, we find that this also has 8.8 volts. So this is a low gate signal, so it should switch this MOSFET on, and we should be measuring 19 volts on the drain pins also. And when I measure at that drain pin, we confirm that we have 19 volts. So at this point we have confirmed that our 19 volts is coming down through our fuse and successfully making it through these two input P-channel MOSFETs. The next component in line is this MOSFET right here. If we mark in the pinouts for this, we can see that it's an E6VUE, which I couldn't find a data sheet for, but I'm pretty confident is an N-channel MOSFET. Now for an N-channel MOSFET, we should get a gate voltage of about 24 or 25 volts in order for this to switch on and allow our 19 volts through from our drain to our source. However, when I take a gate voltage here, I measure 0.3 volts, and it seems to be cycling up and down. And this is the first sign of trouble. Our battery management IC should be sending down a gate voltage to this IC of about 24 to 25 volts. That should switch this MOSFET on. Our 19 volts should come through here. The gate pin of the second MOSFET should also be 24 to 25 volts, so it's switched on, and we should be measuring 19 volts on the other side here. And then our 19 volts should be present here and sent down to all of our secondary circuits. On screen now are the voltages that I am actually measuring with this laptop. So we have 0.3 volts on both of the gate pins of those two N-channel MOSFETs. Then on the other side of the second N-channel MOSFET, we have between 2.8 to 3.5 volts, that's cycling. And I'm also measuring that here where we should have 19 volts. We are measuring between 2.8 volts and 3.5 volts, and this is cycling. I decided to disconnect all power and take a diode mode reading at this current sense resistor. And when I took a diode mode reading there, I found that we had 0.431. So there's no short on the main power rail. So we've confirmed that we don't have a short on the main power rail. But why don't we check all of those larger secondary inductors and confirm whether we have a short on any of those. So I took measurements in both resistance mode and diode mode for all of these secondary inductors, starting with L60000. So we measured in diode mode 0.16 and resistance of 600 ohms. Down here we measured 0.4 in diode mode and 3.2 kilo ohms, 0.05 and 75 ohms, 0.14 and 133 ohms, 0.013 and 14.8 ohms. And here's where we got the lowest measurement. Now the CPU is always going to have low resistance, but this is quite low. I measured 0.002 volts in diode mode and 2.80 ohms in resistance mode for both of these rails here. Let me know in the comments, is that lower than what you would expect? For the next inductor we had 0.004 and 5 ohms, and we had 0.034 and 39 ohms. Next I decided it might be useful to inject a small bit of voltage at that current sense resistor and see if anything started to heat up. So what I did was set my voltage to 19 volts. I set a current limit of 100 milliamps. I connected my black wire to the same ground and I connected my red wire to that current sense resistor. And when I did, it started drawing 0.069 of an amp. That's 69 milliamps. And while injecting that voltage into the main power rail, I checked it with my thermal camera, and the only component that is heating up is that ISL95880. So what's the next logical step to take here? Do I just replace the ISL95880 and assume that all of the other power rails that are connected to it are fine? Or should I take that low CPU reading of 2.8 ohms as an indication that there was an initial fault with the CPU that then led to a fault with this ISL95880. If you have a similar Dynabook i5 10th generation, what is the resistance for that? Please post in the comments below. Any feedback you want to put that in the comments below as well, and I'll be back with another video next week.